So a lot of these quarterbacks are having their pro days. And yesterday, the Redskins apparently went to look at, I think they went to look at Will Greer. Mm-hmm. They met with Will Greer. We definitely have at least one caller who religiously calls in and says, they shouldn't go with the first rounder. Will Greer. Will Greer is amazing. Maybe he will be.
Well, that's because he's a Mountaineer Mark.
Sure.
That's the only reason.
So there you go, Will Greer. And everybody's having pro days. I heard Todd McShay rave about Drew Lock. Drew Lock apparently his arm talent better than Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins, according to Todd McShay, says, but the tape apparently isn't as good. So the tape, you're troubled by the tape, but they said in terms of just arm talent, making all the throws, he's the best in terms of just the
I go
arm.
with the tape. That's why I'm all on Kyler
because
Murray.
The arm, is Jeff George. Jeff George maybe had the best arm.
I guarantee you Blake Bortles had a good pro day. Big, strong kid, big arm.
Right. But the Redskins apparently are looking at these quarterbacks. Bruce Allen is there with Jay Gruden. So I don't know if they were consulting in the past, but they're traveling together, and they're going about their business doing this. And, of course, in the last week or so, you've had different front office personnel make comments, and the Doug Williams comments do jump out to a lot of people, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it. But he was asked about how they go about, picking their players. And he said, when we look at players, we look at talent. It's up to the defensive coordinator and the defensive back coaches to scheme him up. We're not in the room with scheme. I don't know exactly what the scheme is.
Right.
And that's where people got upset.
Oh, it just sounds completely clueless. And here's my bigger takeaway. Why are you trotting Doug Williams out to speak? Every time he goes out and speaks, he sticks his big foot in his mouth.
Yeah.
He says something that you slap your forehead.
It's just like, it's sort of like basic good old boy football sort of analysis. And, modern football is way beyond that. I'm sure even the Skins are beyond that. It's just sad. The reason why I didn't take those comments seriously is because, frankly, it's not fair to Doug, but I don't take Doug seriously because I don't think the organization does. I think he's a figurehead for them.
Well, it's kind of the same thing Cakes just said.
Yeah, they trot him out to kind of take the bullets for Bruce, but he's causing more trouble than he's staving off.
The Redskins they're a multi-billion-dollar organization. Are you telling me they can't hire some slicky boy guy to go out there and do all their PR and take a different guy than Doug Williams to take the bullets for Snyder and Allen if those guys don't want to step to the mic? But there has to be somebody that can deliver the message better than Doug Williams.
I'm going to take an alternate opinion here, and you can chime in at 800-636-1067. I think he's not saying it in the best PR way to say it. But ultimately what he's saying is, and I have no problem with this, we're taking the most talented player. So if he's in a 4-3, but you run a 3-4, but he's a middle linebacker, we're going to make him an inside linebacker. That's up to the coaches. We're going to take the most talented player. We're going to take Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, who maybe going to play a 3-4 here. Do you have a problem with that? I don't really have a problem with it. Again, he didn't say it in the most clean version, but what he's saying is we're lining up the guys, and this guy's a beast in college, right? He maybe didn't play in a 3-4 defense. That's the defensive coordinators and the defensive coach's job to make that guy who's a beast at Alabama a beast when he wears a Redskins uniform. And we're going to go with the 3-4 because that's what the coaches want to do, which, by the way, I always say that's vastly overrated because they play nickel all the time and dime all the time and all these things. But they're going to take that guy, and it's based on talent, not scheme.
I think that's generally what he's saying, and it's also why I don't parse his words. And
But he just sounds detached when he says, I don't do the scheme thing. I only look at the talented players.
He's just being, my interpretation, he's just being kind of folksy.
That's
kind of his
folksy.
personality.
But I also don't think he's intimately involved in.
That may be true, but he's not an idiot. He's not a football idiot.
No.
People
saying that.
go off treating him almost like he's a football idiot, like he knows nothing. He's just saying they go for the most talented player, and that's what you should do, by the way.
Here's what they should never do again. Never put him out on a podium with a microphone in front of him. Have they not learned their lesson with the small potatoes comment a few months ago?
The problem is,
and now this.
You can't put Bruce in front of a microphone, and you can't put Doug. Both of them are awful.
So if you're Bruce,
with the media,
go hire a PR expert, somebody who's really good at delivering the message you want put out there. Because Doug Williams is not that
It's
guy.
hard because then they can't answer sort of the technical football questions.
Well, you coach them up. You give them bullet points, and you tell them exactly
So
what
you
to
think
say.
this is a major issue? If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. Is this troubling to you that Doug Williams, who has a fancy job title, supposedly he's like a general manager on this team, although it's very confusing, says that they don't look at scheme. They just draft the talent.
It just sounds like there's a disconnect. It makes me question what's going on in the inner at Redskins
It doesn't
Park.
trouble me because I don't believe it. Because I believe that the people underneath it, the Alex Santoses, the Kyle Smiths, the people that are really in there getting the nitty-gritty scouting and putting the reports together, they are looking at scheme. They're factoring in everything. They're seeing how this guy fits into our system, the kind of defense that we run or the offense that we run, zone blocking scheme or whatever. Of course, they're looking at all that. I just take it as, again, they're just throwing Doug in front of the media and he's just taking bullets and he's just talking off the top of his head. I don't take it as anything more than that.
But I also think there's a very good chance he's correct. That when they bring in somebody like Reuben Foster, for example, I believe in San Francisco, I could be wrong, he was a middle linebacker. With the Redskins, if they stay with their current scheme, he'll be inside linebacker. It's not the exact same thing. It is a different scheme. And what he's saying is, we identify that talent. He was a great player at Alabama. Okay, in San Francisco, he's available. We see this guy has talent. Let's bring him in. And now it's the coach's job to fit him into our particular scheme.
Yeah, but
It's actually correct.
no, it doesn't always work though. Some guys
may not
can't.
work.
Some
You're
guys
right.
can't transfer, and that's where you have to look at it and go, will this skill set transfer into our scheme? That's where you have to factor scheme in. Does this guy's skill set, okay, he's playing in a different scheme. He's a talented football player. Will this skill set work in our scheme? It's always an issue. You know, I mean, of course you're looking for the most talented guys, but they have to be able to translate into your scheme.
Look, I think, again, he was being a little folksy.
I agree.
But let's take, for example,
That's why I don't take it that seriously.
let's take, for example, DK Metcalf, who we've talked about, who's a prospect at wide receiver who has the unbelievable body, supposedly less than 2% body fat, if that's even possible.
I don't believe that.
But there are some who doubt whether he's going to be a great pro because he didn't run a huge variety of routes in college football.
They don't like his 3-cone drill.
You
numbers.
may love him, though, because he can bench press 30 times. He can run a 4.3, whatever he does. He's got like all these off-the-chart skills. And then the coaches then have to coach him up. Or you can just say, he's not our exact scheme guy. I think what he's saying is that talent supersedes the scheme.